How's it going? I'm gonna take my watch off. Time doesn't matter anymore.
So Max, where are you going?
I'm going home. I was at Lola had like a thing at the beach because she's leaving tomorrow,
Oh.
and I was gonna leave a lot earlier, but they peer pressured me to stay.
Whoa. Kids, peer pressure is real. Sometimes people will peer pressure you into socializing.
I'm not absolving guilt, but that's the thing that happened.
Okay.
That's tough.
Very nice. Wait, so do you not want to climb after this then? Because we were gonna do
probably not, because I'm going camping tomorrow, and
oh, okay.
I have to prepare for that.
Sure, yes.
I have to pack. These are things that you gotta do,
Max, I don't feel like we're on the dashboard, I'll be honest.
Maybe I should turn my video off. I'm really sorry.
No, it's fine. I literally don't care.
I don't care.
I'm so sweaty.
Yeah.
It's so hot. It's the hottest it's been so far. Because I think, and it's like humid. It's disgusting.
Gross.
Because I guess there's a storm in Mexico, I heard.
There's a storm?
Yeah, that's what the VP of the school told me. So must be true.
Must be true. Devin, Brian, and Beckett.
Is it just me, or is everything like kind of quiet?
Everything?
Like,
what are you
I feel like
talking
your
about?
voices are kind of quiet, but that could just be me.
Oh, it's probably you, bro. Did your AirPod fall out? Because you were wearing an AirPod and now you're not.
It was. It wasn't. Hold on.
What's happening? Okay, wait, Sinclair, what were you saying about
Devin, Beckett, and Brian are in Pasadena currently. If you want to hit them up,
very nice.
Invite them to all your ragers.
Cool. Where are they staying now?
They're in a hotel that's walkable to LACC. So one of those that's right there. You know,
classic.
How it'd be, yeah. Because my mom has to work, but my dad has to take the car. They rented a car, and my dad is doing things. He's like meeting with people in on the west side, so they had to be able to walk to choir.
As one does.
As one does. So I'm here. I'm by myself with all 4 animals in my giant empty house. If anyone wants to throw
that's kind of lit. That's kind of spooky though. Are you spooked? Is this your first time?
Day, but it's like really weird at night because I have to like turn on all the lights so I can see, and then I have to turn them all off again, and I have to like feed all the animals and feed myself, and it's kind of weird. I don't like it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Is your house haunted? Do you know yet?
I don't think so. My mom said maybe. My mom said maybe someone who, well, this is a new build, but my mom said maybe someone died in the house that was previously here. So it's possible.
Does she know how they died?
No.
You can find that on Zillow?
Like, I wish that was an option, like filter for houses where people
that'd be so fun. That would be so lit.
I guess
to just go through all the stories and stuff.
I guess like if it's an old enough city, like probably at least half the houses people have died in, like someone.
My friend Afton, they like have a ghost, and she like apparently it's like a pretty good story. Like she as a kid had like an imaginary friend she would play with, and she like had a name
that's always bad.
And then later found out that like the name she called her imaginary friend that she played with was the same name as a woman who had like lived and died in the house. And they found like all this weird stuff in their attic that was like her stuff. Like it was like a woman who had like lived there her whole life, and like a lot of her furniture and stuff is like still in the house. And sometimes like they'll just like things will be like out of place, or like books will be off the shelves and stuff. It's pretty good.
Oh, does she read as a ghost?
You know,
That's so cute.
it's like a friendly companion ghost, but that's pretty cute.
I love ghost stories. That made me very happy.
I'm so glad, Kendall.
Thank you. But that's so fun.
Yeah.
What a wild time. I definitely had imaginary friends. I don't think any of them were spooky. But yeah.
I drove a 15-foot U-Haul today.
Why?
Because we're in the middle of moving all of our stuff from the camp I'm working for is office warehouse to our summer campus, and that requires like 4 U-Hauls, methinks.
Wow.
So I picked one up today and drove it back to our office. And then
fun. Is it weird?
It's huge and you can't see at the back. And
Ooh.
so there's no like it just has giant truck mirrors. It doesn't have like a rear view, anything.
That's spooky.
And it makes a lot of noise, but it went fine. I didn't hit anything.
Good.
So
you're alive. Yay.
Yay.
Yeah. And what car are you driving, Max?
Car am I driving?
Yeah.
I'm driving a Lexus.
Wow.
Wow.
Is it the Betmobile? Nice.
We're at 20% gas.
Nice.
So,
and where are you?
I'm in Marina Del Rey.
Bruh.
Yeah, you're not making it home.
Time to get gas, bro.
No, I'll be fine.
I don't know about that one.
I'm not getting gas mid podcast. No, I'll be fine. Trust me.
The podcast.
Okay.
Wait, Max.
Wait.
It says I have 80 miles left. It's 20 miles to home.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm fine.
But also, let's find out. Stay till the end to see if Max makes it home.
It'll be a good, I don't know. It'll be a good. Is this part of the podcast, or is this just the part
all part of the podcast, Max? We've been over
always
this.
Part.
Hey everyone, this is Max. We're currently driving home. It's gonna be a little bit of traffic. My plan is I'm gonna take the 405 north and then the 101, which is frankly like the worst route because I hate the 101.
Yep.
But that's what we're gonna do right now. And I think I think the podcast will be okay. I think it'll be fine. It'll maybe add a new lens where I literally can't look at the paintings.
Oh, true.
So, like, it's not even like the first episode where I was like, maybe I want to look at the painting. Like, I can't.
Right.
So,
I have good content for you today then, because I'm talking about a painting, but really I want to talk about a museum. So.
Oh, good.
Oh, good.
I
Mine's not very complex either. So, okay. It's just sometimes you're cutting out.
That's not good.
Yeah. I can caption it. Me too. It'll be fine. I'm not worried.
Voiceover in post.
What?
I'll voiceover.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Perfect.
We'll edit it in post.
Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be actually hilarious. So, yeah, I was editing the Katie one, which was fun.
That's cute.
Lots of ums all around.
Right. That's what we want. We should have an counter.
I mean, it would just be exhausting because also I don't think anyone wants to hear it. Because I know people have pet peeves. Like, it doesn't bother me, but I'm doing it because I know there are folks who will be mad if there's like and then we count every single one. But
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
It won't.
But I don't care. I can edit it out, so it don't.
I don't care about our listeners.
I don't care about any of you listeners out there.
Except for us.
Katie.
Should I leave them all in?
I care about you, Katie.
Well, and normally, like with the other ones, like we both said a normal amount of times, and I like didn't worry about it. But since we had Katie on, I was like, okay, I'll be nice, and I'll do all of them. It's taking a long time to edit because it also was like an hour and a half, more than an hour and a half.
Yeah, it was a long episode.
We talked about a lot of art.
We did. So I'm hoping I can get it down to a good length, but yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do
Go,
it.
Sinclair, go. I'm gonna mute so I can put my fan on because I'm warm.
Cool. Here we are. It's loading. Okay, so what I have for you today, I'm going to start by talking about this painting, which is a Rembrandt. But then we're gonna quickly segue. I'm using this as a jumping off point. So this is a painting by Rembrandt. It's called Self-Portrait, age 23, and he painted it in 1629. He was a Dutch painter, so a lot of the like general Dutch oeuvre of the time comes through in this painting with like dark color palette. It's in oil paint, so we have a lot of sort of play with light. He's pretty skilled in his depiction of fabric. Like the velvet on his shoulder looks like really soft. Like this looks like a soft man to touch. His hat and his shoulder look like super, super cozy. And he's got like really nice curly hair that looks like it would be really fun to touch. And he's like lit from one corner. And so that lighting effect on the fabric and on his face is very detailed. So we have those sort of Dutch stylistic components coming through, as you see in a lot of Dutch work around this time. And he's clearly showing off his technique with the fabric and with the lighting effects. And you know, as artists like to do, you gotta show your skills. I love the texture of this painting. I think it looks like it's so fun to look at. Fun fact about Rembrandt, he painted more self-portraits than any other painter in European art history. Don't know what that says about him, but it's kind of an interesting fact.
Well, doesn't it say he's a narcissist?
Perhaps.
But also that's wild because there's so many portrait painters. Like to be the one that's made the most is an accomplishment, truly.
I know.
Wow.
Can I ask you a question?
And Europe's
Sinclair,
old.
where did you find that?
It was either on his
Because I'd like to know who's keeping records of like the all-time list of portraits. Like, do you think there's a leaderboard? Like, could I like, and also like, do I have to be like of a certain prominence, or can I just go out here and like beat his record?
That would be good. I think you should try. I've just looked up painters with the most self-portraits, and he comes up as first.
Whoa,
so it's possible.
okay.
Followed by Frida Kahlo and Picasso.
Whoa.
It's possible.
I hate to say it, I don't buy it.
Wait, how many though?
I don't buy it.
What's
that
the
top
number?
3 are people we all know.
Yeah, fair. But what's the number?
Yeah, it's definitely possible that like, but it did say like the history of European art, so it's possible that that is like excluding people who aren't a part of the canon.
Fuck that. But what's the number? Does it say?
I don't know how many. Let's see. How many? So I'm doing some quick research.
Woo.
How many self-portraits? When I look up how many self-portraits, the first 3 things are Van Gogh, Rembrandt, and Frida Kahlo. My Google search says 100.
Okay, that's less than I was expecting.
That's easy money. I could do that in a week.
You got him, Max. You can do it.
I hate to butt in, but I have to say that my dad's good art friend, who he's like known for a really long time. I went to his show a few weeks ago, which is a very weird show. And it was his self-portraits through the past 40 years of his art career. And this guy who's just like a painter like my dad. Like every month he like does a self-portrait.
Oh, that's fun. Like a little
And-
flip book, but way more intense.
Right. And it was really interesting. And he had one in the style of Rembrandt's self-portrait. So,
Oh,
Cool.
but
this
there were
sounds
also
like a very
more
cool
than,
exhibit.
it was a really interesting. I also think there were more than 100 there. So
Yeah,
Yeah, this feels like a biased list to me, but
I would
still
agree.
very
I
interesting.
retract my fun fact.
No, it's still really wild,
Yeah,
and I
it's
still
your
think it's
fault.
hilarious that he's made 100 pictures of himself. Like,
Yeah.
so
There's that. So this painting's lovely, but it's not really what I want to talk about. So this painting is housed in the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston, which I went to this weekend. So I saw it in the flesh. I can show you. This is the painting on the wall in the museum where it lives, and it's in a big room with this like green, what do you call this, like brocade wallpaper, like the shiny stuff.
I don't even know that word, so sure.
But this is like the style of the museum, which we'll talk about in a sec. But
Wow.
this painting, like, it captured my attention because of the texture, but it's definitely like eye-catching, but in a very opulent kind of space with a lot to look at.
Well, and because the like wall is fabric, like it makes it look like velvet even more, I feel like,
Totally. Yeah. The Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum is named after Isabella Stewart Gardner, obviously, who basically curated the collection. She was an art collector at the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century. And she was a woman who was passionate about art, who started wealthy and then became really wealthy after she inherited, I think, $1.75 million from her father in 1891, which is like probably $300 million now, like a ton of money.
Isn't that like, that's more than Woman in Gold was for that whole inheritance thing? Because wasn't that like 1.7 or something?
Yeah, I think that sold for like 1.4 modern.
Okay.
So this is like the sum of money she inherited from her father, and she basically used a ton of it to like travel Europe and buy art and buy pews from churches and acquire columns from ancient Rome and like just sort of acquire. And that's like very
what kind of money do you have to acquire a column?
This is a great question, and it's something I am super curious.
I don't even want to think about that activity.
Yeah.
Sounds laborious for sure.
Okay, sorry.
She basically like built this museum in Boston. It's right by Fenway and Northeastern and all the schools that are right there now. I think when she built it, it was a much emptier part of Boston. She created this museum, like she built this building to house all these things that she acquired and was acquiring, which includes like friezes from Italy and France and Greece and columns from ancient Rome and stuff from the Byzantine Empire and all this like early Italian Renaissance stuff, lots of Dutch paintings, lots of tapestries, like all of this stuff. There are like pews from churches and altarpieces and big light fixtures and like Gothic beams and just like so many things that she just was like acquiring for a long time and then putting in this eclectic museum. And she also had she like loved art. She had a bunch of artist friends who she has a room that's like only for the work of her close artist friends. And among that group is like Whistler and Sargent and like other like cool up in the world artists. So that's cool. A big like way that she got into art or like discovered art was through a relationship with a Harvard student when she was like, I think in her 40s. She like had this guy at Harvard who like would tell her about the cool art to get or like go to Europe.
She's a cougar now too.
I can't tell if they like had a sexual relationship or if he was just like her art guy, but kind of
there's art involved.
Was he a student?
he was a student at Harvard while she was like an adult living in Europe. Like,
Wow.
and
Spicy affair if it is an
my
affair.
kind of book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he would like tell her about the like art she should get, or like go to Europe and bring stuff back for her. And he helped her get the Rembrandt in 1896. And she said
So
that
this is old. She's traveling around with lots of money. Very old. Okay.
She
How is she? Never mind. It was a stupid comment.
what?
Well, now you have to say it.
Is she? It should. I don't know. For some reason, it's just funny to me. Like, cause modern travel, like traveling that much, like she's traveling by boat.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's a lot of. It's a lot of time. I don't know.
A lot of time. A lot of money.
She was born in 1840. So at this point, when she like really starts collecting, she's like 40 years old. But she continues collecting for a long time. And she said that this painting, this Rembrandt, was the first piece that she purchased with the real intention of developing a museum collection. So this is sort of her, like she was interested in art and she was interested in acquiring for like residents. But
the columns and everything were for fun then?
I think that was following.
There was no purpose?
I think that was
okay.
Getting this
okay.
But she definitely was acquiring stuff like for her home prior, but I think that was more artworks and maybe some of the furniture too, because a lot, like everything you see in this picture was like real and probably from Europe, from like a chateau somewhere or whatever. And so in 1899, Isabella started designing her museum in Boston. And so this is like a sketch of the interior. So it's basically, it's kind of like a Roman building. So it's got 4 walls, and in the like exterior portions, there are skinny galleries on the long sides and fat galleries on the short sides. And then in the middle, there's a garden. And there are 4 floors. I think the first 3 have art on them, and the 4th one was her residence. And there's a garden in the middle, and all of the floors like have all these windows that look out on the garden, and it's open in the middle. And this is what the garden looks like now.
So pretty and green.
It's very pretty. It's a nice place. What else do I have? This is a picture of a different room in the interior. So all of this furniture, I think, would have come from a real place, and then there are sort of eclectic mixes of paintings around on the walls with really rich, like fabric wallpaper in these kind of floral styles in every room pretty much. So she was designing her museum. She lived there on the top of it, and she their website says that she was like hands-on in installing their collection, really had a vision for what she wanted this space to be. And she also served as a patron to other artists. So she, both monetarily, and I think that she had artists in residence while she was there. And the museum continues to have artists in residence to this day. I don't know if they really truly live there, but they still have like artists that have residencies with the museum and can have exhibitions in their modern wing. So that's cool. And the museum is like largely still as she curated it, at least with the same like intentions. And so there are lots of rooms that are kind of eclectic. Like she has a room that's like all of her close friends' art, and she has a room that's like there's like the yellow room that seemingly has no theme. And then there are also some things that look more like modern curation. Like there's an early Italian room and a tapestry room and like a Gothic style room. And so something that was interesting for me spending time in this museum was like sort of seeing a glimpse into a different curatorial style. Because we sort of, like most museums you could go to today that aren't like a preserved historical collection of a person, of a private collector, will be sort of grouped by region and time period in sort of a more scientific kind of classification style.
Also less interesting, I think, because you can't make as many comparisons and stuff.
See this other model that's kind of more like places like the Frick, that's more like an aesthetic grouping. Like, I want these paintings in my ladies' lounge for when I hold concerts here, and these are the paintings that I want to go in my dining room, and like sort of more like how you would curate a home.
I feel like this is kind of like a Pinterest account almost. You know what I mean? Like you're grouping things together as projects.
Yeah.
Like
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can kind of see like her personal preferences and like her aesthetics coming through in the way that she positioned her art. Some things that I noticed, I don't know like a ton about her, but some things that I noticed about this museum that I found kind of problematic were like along those lines of her personal preferences coming through. Like, she traveled all over the world, but the art in this museum is pretty much all European. And there are, in like some hallway spaces, there are some things that are very clearly from Asia that don't really have the same like clearly was not what
They
she
don't get
thought
a
was
room.
high art.
Yeah.
And so that sort of white supremacy, colonial supremacy view of the art canon comes through, of not valuing art from Asia, especially, which is what's here, but also art from Africa, which she also visited, art from elsewhere, as highly, which is kind of a double-edged sword, because it would also feel weird if it was here, because why isn't it where it belongs? But a lot of these things are not where they belong.
But it is funny to me that she went through the trouble of traveling there and acquiring things, yet still doesn't value them as highly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess that's what happens when you're white and rich and European. So.
Yeah. And it was kind of interesting to me to think about, like, because I definitely bristle at like the idea of Columns from Rome being in Boston, and like, how did they get there? Like, what's that about? How do I feel about
acquired
that? But I would probably feel worse about like if she had like tribal masks from Africa in her museum. And some of that is like a settler colonized sort of power dynamic. But also like the concept of things from Europe, things from all over the world being in this place in Boston, in ostensibly like a private home that's now open to the public, but under the control of one wealthy woman, sets me on edge a little. And like, I think that that's an interesting thing to think about in the context of like all art museums. Like, why is this here? Why are things that are in my college museum in Maine? Like, why are they there? Am I okay with that? Like, do they belong there? Are they valuable enough to the people who get to see them, who would never have gotten to see them, that it's okay with me for them to not be where they were created, where they culturally originated, which is definitely like a big question in the world of art and museum culture.
Well, and I do think there's something, I do think there's something special to be said about like going to the Van Gogh Museum and visiting where he's from and seeing the art that was created there is a really cool experience, but it's a really privileged experience. So it's like, it's a very small portion of the population that can see that versus like free museums. So it's a tough dilemma.
Yeah. Lots of questions about access.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I was thinking about at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. I have in my notes all of these friezes and altarpieces and pews and columns and stuff that started in Italy and France and elsewhere are in Boston. Did she just hack and buy them?
Well, I bet she didn't buy all of them.
I bet you're right.
Yeah.
Another interesting note about this museum is that 13 works were stolen from the museum in 1990, including 3 Rembrandts that were not that Rembrandt, and a bunch of Degas paintings and sketches, which is also a part of museum culture, and they are still being investigated by the FBI, and they are still unaccounted for. So if you know anything about the 13 works that were stolen from the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, I don't know, maybe give them back. But also,
that's crazy that they got away with it though.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, and they're all like, there are empty frames for all of them in the museum, which is kind of cool also.
Wow. Yeah, I've never seen that in a museum. That's really interesting.
That's so
like
funny.
To show off the fact that they got stolen also feels a little funny to me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, bro, this was your fault.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Nothing in the museum has like curator cards anymore. And I'm curious if that was a change or if it was always like that. If they like stopped labeling things because then the famous things would get stolen.
That seems confusing too. I feel like it's nice to
they're actually an interesting museum because they have
maybe they're making new ones or something.
They have a digital guide for every room. So there's like a QR code that you can scan, and then it has like a map of all the paintings and their descriptions. And I think there's like an audio guide for every room. So they're kind of an interesting modernized space in there.
So you still can find out which ones
you can still find out.
So maybe it's an aesthetic choice then.
It might be.
Because it seems like they care about that a lot.
Yeah. Those are my sources. They're not very exciting.
Yeah, sources.
Yay. But that's what I have to say about that. That was great. I went to this weekend.
Yeah. That was I want to go.
That was a
interesting museum.
Oh, there. You got cut off a little, but yeah. Yeah, I want to go. When I eventually visit you in Boston.
Sounds good.
You better take me.
Maybe I will. They also have a cute cafe.
Oh, fun. Okay. Oh, I have an announcement. Oh, yeah. Go. Oh, okay. I thought you had a comment. Okay. I have an announcement before I get into my thing. So I was editing and I noticed, I'm about to tell you, Max. Get ready. So I talked about Kent Monkman last week, who is from Toronto, which is the dish with one spoon territory. And I found out where the name comes from. So these aren't my words. A dish with one spoon was often mentioned by Indigenous peoples while making treaties with one another to avoid violent conflict. The dish represents the land that is to be shared peacefully, and the spoon represents the individuals living on and using the resources of the land in a spirit of mutual cooperation. And that's from the Canadian Encyclopedia .ca. So, yeah.
Does Canada have an official encyclopedia?
I guess. It was weird to me because I was like, I don't think there's a US encyclopedia.
Yeah.
I know the US is probably in encyclopedias.
Well, I would think.
No, I think it's just an encyclopedia all about fucking Canada. Just very cool. So, Beauford Delaney is a Black gay artist who, painter mostly, but also a musician, who was born in 1901 in Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee, and died in Paris in 1979 in an asylum. So I will tell you now how he got there. Bum, bum, bum. Okay. So he had a brother named Joseph. Joseph is also a painter, but I didn't really look into him because I was like, I'm focused on Beauford. And I think Beauford's more famous, and I think he has a more fun name. So, and he might be the gay one, which is also maybe why I chose. I don't know if the other one's sexuality, but anyway, they were 2 of 10 siblings, birthed to a barber and minister, which carried a lot of weight with Beauford being gay and everything. So that's a big part of his identity, I think. And then the mom was named Delia, and she was a cleaning lady / maid servant who was actually born into slavery. I didn't find how she got out. Yeah, she was cleaning, and it said in one article I read that she cleaned rich white people's houses. So I was like, that's an interesting detail. And they kind of made it seem like it was a status thing, that because she cleaned those houses, she was kind of seen as higher up in the community. But I don't know about that article. That was the weirdest yet most detailed one I found. So I don't know. I think it was from highsour.com or something, which was all right. So anyway, so only 4 of the 10 siblings survived. And so Beauford and Joseph were 2 of them, and I have no idea who the other ones are. Oh, so then Beauford and Joseph were drawing at a very early age. They were always like interested in art. Beauford was also interested in music. Joseph said that wasn't his thing. There's a quote about that in the article. But they had this elderly white man guy who kind of like tutored them in art for a little bit and helped them learn to draw and stuff. And this white man like encouraged them to go to Boston, actually, to explore art and to study it and get better and stuff. And so Beauford did. I don't know about Joseph, but Beauford went to Boston. Poor Joseph's really getting like screwed over right now. I hope he's not still alive. No, 1901.
Podcast has exceeded the amount of Boston mentions that I'm okay with.
Oh yeah, we've talked about Boston a lot. I mean, Sinclair does live there, so it makes sense. But you also publicly announced how you hate Boston.
Yeah,
so.
we need to make that. People should know that. People shouldn't forget.
No, don't forget, Max hates Boston. And I don't know why Boston, because I was like, Boston doesn't strike me as like an art city, like I'm sure there is lots of art. You just showed us a beautiful museum there, but I feel like it's not talked about as like the place that artists go to become artists,
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. We hate Boston. Okay. So after that, he goes to Boston. He did lots of jobs, lots of them. Okay. Here's a list of some of his jobs. I think some of these were in New York also, which was the next place he went. He was a bellhop, telephone operator, doorman, caretaker, and there was one more. Oh, and he also did custodial work at the Whitney. That's that for you. Yeah, so after Boston, he studies there, does art stuff. He at one point said like, I'm mostly self-taught, but then there were these long lists of all these schools he went to for art. So it was like, okay, bud, sure. And I was like, why do you don't have to like pretend you didn't go to school. Like, I don't. And then once he was in New York, he was like a big part of the whole like Harlem Renaissance vibe that was happening. He first lived in Harlem and then later moved to Green Street in Greenwich Village. In Harlem, he was friends with many folks. James Baldwin, Henry Miller, W.E.B. Du Bois, Duke Ellington, Van Gogh, not Fauvism. Cooney, no, Cooney's an inspiration.
With Fauvism.
Ella Fitzgerald and Georgia O'Keeffe, and I'm sure many others, but he was a big part of the art scene in Harlem.
Yeah, he's very well connected.
Yeah, and he did portraits of a lot of these people, which is really interesting. And I guess I can show you them now.
I guess.
Oh, you've disabled participant screen sharing.
No.
A dish with one spoon. Okay. This is bothering me. Okay. View. Present. Okay, this is the painting I chose. Here are some of the portraits. So this is James Baldwin. For those of you who can't see it, it's a yellow portrait. It's kind of, they describe it as impasto, which is like thick application of paint. There's a lot of talk of how this mirrors like Van Gogh's works, which maybe I'll talk about later. If not, I'll talk about it now. And the yellow color palette also contributes to that. And I think James Baldwin, at least from what I found, was like the like famous person that he was friends with that he painted the most, because there were a lot of portraits of James Baldwin. What was weird though is every time I was trying to like search up these, like I would just do portraits and like so many of them, it wouldn't say like who the portrait was. And I was like, bruh, like I want to know, especially because they're not like super, super realistic. Like you can make out who this is. And I have this is James Baldwin here. So like it does look like him, but you might not know, if you don't know what James Baldwin looks like. So, okay. So anyway, James Baldwin, they were friends. He's in New York. And then after New York, oh, one more thing about New York. So on Green Street, apparently he had a whole like Greenwich Village, Lower East Side community of white gay friends who he hung out with. But apparently he was like not very comfortable with his sexuality and tended to kind of hide that, which I would guess is from the whole minister dad situation. So he was not super prideful, I guess. So maybe not the best for pride, but I thought he was interesting, so we're doing it. In Harlem, he would basically hide that part of his identity completely. So that was not a part of his conversations with these Harlem Renaissance folks. Although James Baldwin I thought was gay because Giovanni's Room is very gay. So who knows? Maybe I'll start a rumor that they had an affair. Oh, it just closed my presentation. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Yay. Okay.
I can hear
That
Kendall
was
now.
long.
I can hear Kendall now.
Was
Yay.
that Kendall?
Yeah. I don't know what was
Oh.
happening, but everything
That's
died.
so weird. I just assumed it was me.
No, it was me that time. Okay, back to this. Oh yeah, so after New York, he goes to Paris because he went to the Yaddo Art Colony, which is in upstate New York. They talked all about how Europe was like, something about it being like the new Rome of art or something. I don't know. They were like, Paris is a center for art. And so he went to Paris and loved it. He just stayed basically for the rest of his life. And then as he got older, he was an alcoholic, and I guess it eventually like contributed to his mental health issues, which I couldn't find any details about. That caused him to have a big breakdown, and he ended up in an asylum. And so he died there. And it said he died like completely oblivious to his surroundings, which is really sad. He just like had no idea what was going on, and like, yeah. But he lived to be 78, so not terrible. Okay. Let's see. So that's the story of him, and now I'll get into more of his art. Abstract expressionist, he was well known for his pastel portraits of Black Americans. So here's Ella Fitzgerald's portrait. And this is where he's getting into like more abstraction, which is fun. So if you're listening, it's a big yellow canvas with, I guess it's oil on canvas, and it's like kind of blotchy, but there's thick paint, and then in the center you can make out a face, and it's, I'm assuming, Ella's face. This one is called The Eye, and this one shows like another yellow canvas, so lots of yellow.
Do you
There's
know,
like
if
a
there's any
reason for that?
like reason for yellow specifically?
Yeah, I think it's a Van Gogh reference because Van Gogh loved. Also, I'm saying Van Gogh, like fuck Van Gogh. Like
Van
that
Gogh.
sounds dumb and pretentious.
Is that,
Like,
is that a thing?
yeah, there was like, I don't know when this happened, but people will correct you and be like, "Oh, it's Van Gogh," or whatever, and it's like, calm down. Like in America, I'm gonna say Van Gogh, and if I ever go there, I'll say it right.
Van, go away.
But yeah, so Van Gogh with like the
Am I right?
sunflowers. Yeah. So with the sunflowers and portraits, he used a lot of yellow, so that's why the yellow happened. So in this one, you have a yellow background and then a bluish Black man. It's kind of like bluish, greenish, and red. And he has like a very large eye, and it's like orangish colored, and a very large ear. So also a little bit more abstract. And then this is even more abstract. This is an untitled work, and it's got lots of swirls, and it's very like pastel colors. I like this one a lot. I think it's very pretty and satisfying. And I like the colors. Oh, so he was very well known, like while he was alive, though he didn't get a lot of like museum success until like the last year of his life, like 1978. Died in 79, in which he had a retrospective at the Black Master series in the Studio Museum in Harlem, which sounded cool. He still like wasn't recognized by the canon for a long time, and I kept seeing articles about like why Beauford Delaney was almost like erased from the canon and stuff, and I'm like, how do you erase someone from a canon? But okay, if you just burn like all of their works and erase it from the internet. But I was like, that's a lot of work for, I don't know. Anyway, he was also known as the Dean of American Black Painters Living Abroad, and was called like the most popular and best known living Black artist abroad. I read that. Green Street, where he lived in Greenwich Village, was a huge inspiration. And in the one I'm going to talk about the most, it, I think, is from Green Street, if it ever moves. There it is. So this might not be on that particular street, but was probably in Greenwich or Harlem. And he struggled with poverty a lot also. And this scene depicts like homeless men around a trash can fire. It's called Campfire in the Park. And they're on what looks like a basketball court. There's like a sewer manhole, some signs that are pointing. And I found something that said that they were maybe pointing to like a way out of the like desolation and everything. And I thought this was a really interesting piece because it has a lot of like dichotomies in it. Like you have this group of people who are all homeless, which is a really isolating experience, but they're all together. And there's a lot of cool colors around, which makes it feel more isolated and sad, but then they're around a fire, so there's this warmth. So there's a lot of these. I also saw something that said there was like a fire escape, and I have no idea where the fire escape is. So if you know where it is, let me know. I guess, I don't know. I was just like trying to find it, and I was like, I don't see anything resembling that. And it said it was like a zigzaggy fireplace. What?
It's on the right.
It's on the right.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm not looking.
I know. Well, there are zigzags weirdly on the right here. And so that's the only thing I was like, maybe, but that just looks like squiggly lines to me. So who knows? But this is also one of his paintings where he's incorporating both like abstraction and representational art, even though none of these figures have like faces really. They're all just kind of like dark and you can't make out any features. So yeah. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. This is in the Smithsonian, 1946. It already said that there, but for the listeners, I guess. And here's a quote from the Smithsonian about this painting. It says, anonymous gay men gather near a source of heat, light, and camaraderie. So again, you have this like relationship between humans, which is very wholesome. And they talk about like the legacy of deprivation. So this is like the Harlem Renaissance is happening, I think, either during or right after the Great Depression. But a Great Depression doesn't just end, you know, like it still continues to impact people. Talks about how like Black people were social outcasts. Oh yeah, and then you have this like swirling vignette, it said, which I thought was cool because Van Gogh's Starry Night, and they kept talking about Starry Night, and I think this one has a lot of parallels to Starry Night, which I bet most people can picture in their heads, so I'm not going to explain what it is. Yeah, you've got the swirling and everything, which also feels calm and cool, these like bluish colors. Yeah, all these city symbols so you can identify where it is. Oh yeah, and then the other dichotomy is like celebration and melancholy. That's the other one. So that's that. Yeah, a little more on his style. They talked about how it was like pure colors, which I don't know what the hell that means. Also said it was like taut schematic patterning, which I was like, okay, sounds fancy, but I don't know what it means. Oh, he also drew upon music and rhythm and improv from music. I just said music so many times, whatever. So I think that inspired him too, in the same way that like I think had a lot of like musical elements in his work. I can't remember how exactly, but maybe we'll have to do Kandinsky and find out. Oh, and here's a definition of abstract expressionism because I tend to forget it. So, subjective emotional expression with particular emphasis on the creative, spontaneous act of painting. This also said that Willem de Kooning and Jackson Pollock led that. Okay, let me see if I have any photos I didn't talk about, unless there's... Oh yeah, I guess one of his other jobs I didn't mention, he made signs for money, so painted signs with his brother. So probably influenced him. And I guess he was the extrovert and Joseph was the introvert. Oh yeah, apparently had no long-lasting romantic relationships, which is kind of sad. I also found something that said he resisted thinking of himself as a Black artist, but liked Black achievement. And I think at first I was like, what? But I think that's just saying that like he didn't like that he was situated in like this cornered off realm of Black artists, you know, like it wasn't part of the canon, it wasn't respected in the same way, often still isn't, unfortunately. And so I think because of that, like he celebrated Black achievement, but he didn't want to be seen as only a Black artist, you know, he wanted to be seen as an artist, period. Yeah. Okay, let's look at the photos. I keep getting this little noise. Okay, so there we have the comparison. Okay, here I'm comparing Van Gogh's self-portrait. It's not the one with the lost ear because it wasn't as yellow. And then I have the James Baldwin portrait next to it. So you can see some similarities in the composition. I think they're both pastels also, or at least Delaney started with pastels, so works either way. Here's some more Van Gogh. You can see the sunflowers and those other two paintings. Oh, and here's Willem de Kooning. I used the AP Art History work. I don't know if it's still the work, but Woman 1, which was made from 1950 to 1952, which is one of his most famous. And it's a portrait of a woman with like very large breasts, very distorted face, and like it's very scratchy and scribbly and like intense looking. It kind of looks angry to me. Yeah. Do you know any other way to describe that, maybe?
No. Didn't we learn about this one? Isn't he the one who like painted over this like many, many times and then would like scrape off layers of paint? So I think this is like many, like you can kind of tell there are like so many colors happening. I think it's like many layers of different kinds of paint that sort of give you like it's clearly a portrait. It's clearly figural, but it's also like really abstracted and like severe kind of. Like there are a lot of really like harsh lines and it feels like scratchy, like you said.
Yeah, definitely. Do you remember why he?
I think that was just his style. Like I think it was just his method. I don't know.
So I also included for the de Kooning slide this painting called Gensivelt Street. That's how I'm attempting to say it. I don't know if that's right. It's in the Netherlands, and I liked this one because it was also like a city scene. So I thought that would be an interesting comparison to the fire cannon the park. I can't remember the order of the words, but you know, the one. And this one is like orangish color. There's lots of, it's very linear, but it's none of it's straight. And there's some like white highlights. You can make out some houses and streets, but it's pretty abstracted. Anything you want to add to it? And then I have another portrait on the right, which is also a woman that's pretty hard to make out. But once you look at it long enough, you can see. And she might be like pregnant. She has very large feet. Yeah, big nose. Yeah. Do you have anything else about these ones?
No. It's interesting that like super like on the spectrum of like realism to abstraction, like these are probably, if abstraction is like a 10, these are probably like an 8.5. Like there's something there and you can tell what it is, but like it's really abstracted. Yeah,
definitely. And I would say Delaney on that scale is probably, wait, you said these were an 8?
Like an 8.5. I think like the portraits are probably an 8.5, and this one in the middle is probably like a 9.
Yeah, like I agree. And I think
title, I could maybe find some houses, but like if not, I'm thinking that's abstract.
Definitely. Delaney would probably be a 6 or a 7 with most of his portraits, but then as he progresses, like the Ella Fitzgerald portrait gets closer to this style. It's not as harsh by any means, but like in terms of abstraction, so he goes from maybe like a 3 to a 7 during his career, I would say, if not 9 eventually, because he does get completely abstract.
Not untitled work is like entirely abstract.
Yeah. Okay, and then this is Fauvism, because that's another one I tend to forget. I always remember the colors, but I don't remember what it is besides that. But I think it is like mostly
that goldfish
the colors.
Painting is our Fauvism painting in AP Art.
Yeah. Should I? I'll. Is it the Matisse goldfish Fauve? Okay. So if you're using this to study for AP Art History, here's. This is the way we would study, by the way. We would just like talk about art like in a fun way. And
oh heck yeah. We went to a museum like 2 days before the exam. and just hung out.
Yeah,
It was
that
cute.
was fun. I missed that class.
Bove means
But yeah.
wild beast, and that's fun.
Oh yeah, it does mean wild beast. So maybe because of like the colors are so vibrant. Yeah, so in this painting you have a little end table. The perspective is all weird, kind of Marode altarpiece like in that way. There's a glass. It's not round, it's like a cylindrical glass full of goldfish who are very brightly colored. And then there's like an orchid and like some other planties and like a pinkish background. So that's Fauvism. Very colorful. And then this is the Baldwin and Delaney picture. I thought it was a really cute photo because it's just them like walking down the street and Baldwin is like smiling at him. And it's like, they're both in their like trench coats and their hats and they just look so cute. Wait, Max said something, but I didn't hear it. You want to try again? There, now you're coming through. Wait.
I was asking who took the photo.
Oh, no idea.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah, true. Because it looks very what's the word?
Candid.
It starts with a C. Yeah, yeah. It looks very candid, but it's not. I don't know if it is. And then there's another one that also looks like a candid photo of just Delaney painting, and he's wearing like a little kind of Where's Waldo beanie and like a striped sweater, and he has like glasses and he's just smiling. He looks so happy. So yeah, I'll end on that because I like it. But yeah, so that's Beauford Delaney. Very cool artist. Definitely check him out. And I think the painting I chose is not currently on display at the Smithsonian, but there are other ones that are. So, how was your drive, Max? Are you done?
I'm now at a gas station.
He didn't make it, guys.
I could have made it. I'm right next to my house, but my dad was
okay.
"Don't forget to get gas for tomorrow."
Okay. So Max kind of made it.
So I did make it. I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, I'm witnessing I think this is going to be a formative moment in this young kid's life. Okay.
Is he being taught how to do gas?
That's important.
Out my window, there's this like biker girl. I shouldn't say biker girl. She's like 40. She's a biker woman.
Yes.
She has a really cool bike, and she's letting this like young boy sit on it, and his mom's taking a picture.
Aww.
And she's giving him. Here, why don't I just show you? Honestly.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Can you see this?
Kendall,
Here, let me stop sharing. Yeah.
And she is now giving him her leather jacket, and he's just smiling. He's smiling so much.
That's the most wholesome thing.
It's really cute. And it's kind of funny too, because this biker woman, I've seen her at this gas station like the past few, like I had to get gas yesterday because I was in this car and I had to get gas. And she was here. I think she might just like hang out here. I don't know. She might like be friends with the.
Maybe. Or maybe she just rides a lot and she needs a fuck ton of gas.
Probably.
That's the Altadena local bike woman.
Yeah. and one end to a podcast this was.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Good work, folks.
Good work, team. There's a cat on my bed.
I will say I did find this kind of entertaining. This, for me at least.
Yeah.
Doing it while driving.
So what did you think? Was it aggravating or doable?
A little harder with your section because you were talking more about big pieces. Claire's section was very fun.
Mm-hmm. So we should definitely keep doing museums too. I want to go to the Norton Simon, so we should go.
I think I would feel a little more confident. Not that you guys can't do them either, but I would maybe.
Oh, you want to be the museum dude?
Museums and segments. Yeah, sure. Okay. Because I feel like that's more up my alley. I feel like I'm kind of out of it when it comes to like painting specifically, but I'd love to do museums because I love talking about like the history of them and how they happen.
No, I think that'd be awesome, especially because then it also puts you in the position of our audience because, you might be someone who doesn't know a lot about art history, but who likes museums, and so can give kind of a perspective on that.
That's our demographic, they like art, but they're like, where do I start?
Yeah, we're here for you guys. Although Max did say in the last episode that this is a podcast where you have to do homework. So we're here for you, but you need to put in the effort.
Where we hate Boston.
We're changing direction.
Yeah. Yes. We
anti-Boston. Anti-Boston, pro homework, only audible listeners.
Yeah. Well, we've told them so many times, like, stop it, go to the YouTube.
Go to the YouTube.
And it's also
fucking
it helps
purposely misleading people.
Oh, we hit 25 downloads today. So yay.
That's so many people though.
I know, and I was like, that's really cool because when I look at the YouTube stats, like it's pretty
person
low.
downloading 25 times.
Yeah. I don't think you can. There's only 4 episodes, so.
What if that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
So not bad, I think.
It's like humans.
Yeah.
Maybe
I don't
time
know.
travelers. We never know.
I hope. That would be such a fun end to this podcast.
If you're time traveling, I hope you're spending that time downloading podcasts.
Well, maybe when you time travel, like you're in like a plane or like a car, maybe you're in like a DeLorean and you need stuff to listen to on the way. Maybe it's not instantaneous.
Maybe it's one of those time travel machines where it's like you gotta sit in there for as long as you want to travel back.
Whoa, that's an idea.
Whoa, that's a commitment.
Yeah.
You know those time travel machines?
Those
I feel like I've never seen that in TV.
Those ones?
Trademark
I think that's... No, I didn't come up with that. I know I didn't.
Okay.
I know it's from somewhere.
Okay. I don't know where it's from.
I forget what it's from, but I know I didn't come up with that. If I did, that'd be crazy, but I know I didn't.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna go because it's my time.
Yeah. Okay, try to talk to the ghost tonight. Let me know what happens.
That's good. Well, I'm alone.
That'll be our update. Yeah. Well, because also when Zach Bagans from Ghost Adventures goes to houses, like he puts people alone in rooms because sometimes he's like, well, the ghosts will like attack you if it's just one person, but they'll be scared if it's more. So let's put one person in the room, obviously.
This helps.
So
thank you.
Yeah. So I want you to sacrifice yourself for the podcast so we have a ghost story.
We're now a Christian anti-Boston pro-home ghost hunting podcast.
The anti-Boston industrial complex.
That's all I want for this podcast. I'm so happy.
I don't know how industry is making it into that, but we'll find a way.
We'll find
out. Okay. Bye.
Okay. Bye, team.
Oh, find us on Instagram at paint_on_canvas_. I don't know. Paint on canvas on tape with underscores. You'll get it.
Try to hack us. Guess a password. Honestly, guess a password.
Try to hack us.
Honestly, no. I want people to try it because we have such a terrible password, and I would honestly, it'd be such an honor if someone hacked us.
Yeah, that would show us we're actually famous.
Yeah.
Which we're currently not. So
yeah, that would be the most important metric to me.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Because you still haven't been sent any signs.
Hack us. Post a photo on your story of you in a red hat at Kendall's
channel. Fedora.
Wait. Okay. What we should do is what our old password was.
Oh, okay. So every week people try to guess the password. Then we have to remember so many passwords.
And then if there's a time traveler, he'll hack us because he'll know it from the next week. You know what I mean? And then he'll come back.
See him. Gosh.
Yeah, true. We've been gendering our time traveler. I hope it's a queer non-binary time traveler.
Me too.
That would be awesome.
That'd be fun. I can't wait to see your red fedora, queer non-binary time traveler.
Doodles.
Okay, bye.